Fix that later. Uh, 10 more seconds. It's connecting, good. Okay, got it. And we're gonna hit the record. Welcome, folks. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Winning on Wednesday, real estate section of the or portion of the group here. And we're going to do a future series of future speakers. So if anybody's interested in speaking in the future, we're going to do WOW PM, a series of speaker in the future. I would like to also introduce a couple people here before we start. My co-host and CEO manager, WOW, Robin Chaskin, who also, unfortunately have to get going to a meeting, but Robin will be the closer, but she'll be here to help out with everybody. So hello, Robin, how are you?
Hey guys, how are everybody tonight? It's good to see you. Looking forward to tonight's presentation.
Okay, and before we start, I would like to quickly introduce our people, our leadership of who make this possible. Because again, I can't do this all by myself, and I would like to acknowledge Paul and Shannon Poblett. So go ahead, Paul, Shannon, please introduce yourself. Introduce
Thank
yourself.
you so much, Juan. I'm Paul Poblett, founder of Apollo 3D Inc. Pretty much a 3D scanning company helping architects, engineers, and our real estate agents pretty much promote and visualize their spaces. And I'm alongside Shannon Poblett of Jovia.
Thank you so much for the intro. I'm Shannon. Mike, I really am super excited that you're going to be presenting tonight. And I'm actually with Jovia Financial Credit Union. So if anyone needs help with the mortgage, first home, vacation home, or investment property, we have some really nice products, especially for first-time home buyers. So just to, tie everything together, the purpose of this group is to be a resource for, realtors, lenders, architects, engineers, anyone on the, really more on the front line. So really targeting realtors and lenders who are out there meeting with clients, and we're a resource for them. So we have the whole, the idea is to have home inspectors and engineers and architects and everybody that would be a support for anyone out there facing clients on a daily basis.
Correct. And we also have Marlon. Marlon is also part of our real estate committee. So Marlon, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Yes, my name is Marlon Pena from Credit Mogul. What I do is help with people that have bad credit, get into a consultation with them to see how I can help them get back to good credit. And, hopefully they'll have more doors of opportunity once I'm able to help them facilitate to that goal. And that's what.
All right, thank you. And again, these are the people who make it possible, who make it possible to make this group wonderful and make it run efficiently. And I would just like to say thank you for the team. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. And I'm blessed to have you guys in my life, because without this, we can't make this possible and help out everybody. Really, genuinely help out everybody here. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and do a little bit of networking at the end. So we'll do the formal introductions to everybody. But right now, Mike, I want to give Mike to the mic. So we're going to mute everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody's mic. Give me 1 second. Mike, I'm going to ask you to unmute. There you go. How you doing, Mike?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Okay, good. So it's up to you. Take it away, Mike. So we're all excited. So please introduce yourself and let's go into the presentation. So
sounds good. Thank you all for having me. I know many of you already from the previous WOW meetings, but for those that don't know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Mike Bernier. I was born and raised here on Eastern Long Island. I had a 20-year career with the NYPD. I started in 2000 and ended in 2020. I tell people I started my career with 9/11 and ended with the George Floyd protests and COVID pandemic. So moving forward, I wanted something very different when I started my second career. During my career with the NYPD, I sunlighted, not moonlighted, because my entire career I worked the overnight shift. Anyway, I sunlighted a variety of jobs, from sheetrocking and spackling. I did plumbing. I worked for inspecting homes for numerous insurance companies to determine if they were properly insured and to determine the cost to replace if there was ever a claim. I've also been a volunteer firefighter for 2 decades. Upon retirement, I went back to school to become a licensed New York State home inspector. After passing the New York State exam and creating my business, Simple Truth Home Inspections, I set out to provide home inspections that are full of information that is simple to understand. I'm hoping this presentation helps you guys see what I'm all about. Without further ado, It is the importance of an informative home inspection. Look at this beautiful house. What one person might see here may not be what others see. For example, the buyer might be looking at this place saying, wow, this is awesome. While the parents are saying, that is such a large house to take care of. The realtor is saying, this one is not going to last on the market very long. I, as the home inspector, show up, say, that hip style roof is terrible for ventilation purposes. It is the responsibility of the home inspector to ensure you have all the information needed to make a decision. Information is only useful when it can be understood. If I'm telling you 1,600 different things about a house, but you're not comprehending any of it, it's not benefiting you when it comes to purchasing the home. So it's my job to make sure everything is conveyed clearly so you can understand it simply. While viewing the next few slides, I will expand on why it is imperative that the information be easily understood. Communication is key. The end result should be making an informed decision. Like I said earlier, if you're not understanding what I'm telling you, it's not going to be beneficial for you. So that is my job to make sure I reword it so you do understand it. Safety is paramount. Now, this is from the Code of Ethics from New York State. I'll read through it real quick. Subpart 197-4 of the New York State Code of Ethics and Regulations for Home Inspectors state that prior to performing a home inspection, home inspector shall provide a client with a written pre-inspection agreement. It's a contract between me and the client that clearly and fully describes the scope of service to be provided and the costs associated with that service. This pre-inspection agreement or contract must contain the following clause. If immediate threats to health or safety are observed during the course of the inspection, the client hereby consents to allow the home inspector to disclose such immediate threats to health or safety to the property owner and/or occupants of the property. This is where I got to give a kudos to New York State. They're actually looking out for people's best interests. So if I'm performing a home inspection for a client and I see, we'll go to the pictures here. First picture on the bottom left, you see it's a missing smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector. On the right, it's an electrical outlet, but it's above electric baseboard heating. Alone, each one of these independently is a safety hazard. Put them together and you could have a disaster. Your house could burn down and you would never even know it while you're in there. So New York State, good for them. They let me go out and tell the people who are residing here, whether it be the previous owners, renters, whoever it is, that, hey, the house that I'm inspecting for client B over here, there's some problems that is an immediate threat to your health or safety. So I thought that was a good part for New York State doing something like that. Another safety hazard, home inspection. If you look to the left of this beautiful home, you can see there's where the garbage can area is. If you and your little nephew Timmy are kicking a ball around, he trips over the gutter extension, right, falls down the retaining wall. That's another safety concern. I could let the renter or the homeowner know this. There should be guardrails along all of these retaining walls. These are getting more popular where you have the horizontal railings, balusters. They also put beautiful benches against these. This is another safety concern as to where if a kid is playing, kids love to climb. They climb out of their cribs all the time. You put a bench there, they're going to climb on top of the bench. Bench isn't good enough, let's climb on top of the railing. Top of the railing is good enough until they fall off. So New York State lets the home inspector pull out all of these safety violations and let everybody involved know. There's also environmental safety concerns that we can talk about. Lead-based paint, mold, asbestos. Pre-1978, that's when they banned it. It was, you could have, most in residential applications, you could have lead-based paint, and a lot of the homes still do. Obviously, they've been painted over by latex and stuff, so not a huge concern. Just as an FYI that anything prior to 1978, if your house is built, could have lead-based paint. Mold, if you look to the right, that's another environmental safety concern you can let people know about. Wherever there's moisture, high humidity, mold wants to grow. So if I saw this during a home inspection, I would obviously put it in the home inspection report, but let whoever is currently residing in the residence know that they have a mold condition. Asbestos. A lot of the homes built in the say anywhere from the 20s, 30s, all the way up to the 70s. A lot of them use the siding. It's asbestos impregnated. It's the new ones that you can buy from Home Depot, whatnot, are cement fiber. But everybody's like, oh no, I got asbestos. As long as it remains unaltered, you're not drilling through it, you're not breaking pieces off. A lot of the siding contractors just go right over this. So, but it's good to know that if you're going to be trying to drill through asbestos impregnated siding, there's a safety concern there. On the bottom left is asbestos floor tiles, usually identifiable by their size, usually 9-inch by 9-inch. And on the bottom right, if you can see them, they also used asbestos for insulating pipes back in the day. Not to be confused with the current fiberglass insulation that some places use, usually more commercial application. But it's dependent upon, it's going to obviously be in the report, but it's dependent upon the client whether they want to leave it be and not disturb it, or they got to call a specialist who deals with asbestos and have it remediated. Well, these are all concerns that we can call out and let the current occupant know. Moving forward, I like to talk about big ticket items. There are many big ticket items, aka the potentially costly concerns that must be clearly communicated during the inspection. Things such as the roof, the foundation, HVAC and components, termite damage. A lot of misconception with the termite damage is a lot of home inspectors are doing the termite, the NPMA 33 form, without actually being state licensed. You're supposed to be a licensed pesticide technician or pesticide applicator to fill out that form. It's a separate license number issued by New York State DEC. So when hiring a home inspection, ask them, are you actually licensed from the DEC to perform termite inspections? Otherwise, they might be calling in one of the big box companies to do their termite inspections for them. These are the big ticket items. This is a couple different pictures of various foundations. And you're walking around the house and I say, oh, there's a crack in the foundation. And you think, oh my goodness, my house is going to fall down. Oh, you see there's a crack here, crack here. These are all on the outside. I observed crack here and one on the inside. But in all actuality, it's going to be in the report, but it's not the end of the world. These are settlement cracks. Most of the homes here on Long Island have settling. So I would tell the client, monitor them, make sure they're not getting any worse. You could fill them in, you could go buy concrete. They have all different kind of cool products at Home Depot and just monitor it. Those little minor settlement cracks are nothing compared to structural failure. These are the horizontal cracks that you find in basements and crawl spaces, mostly caused by hydrostatic pressure, water pressure from the outside of the residence trying to work its way in. These are beyond the scope of just a home inspection. Any home inspector that calls this out as a structural failure has to inform the client that it has to be further evaluated by a structural engineer. And they're the ones that will recommend the course of action to take. They're not going to fix it, but they're going to stop it from getting worse. They put up steel plates, they put up I-beams, but it's a structural engineer's job to figure out how best to approach. Each one is different. I, as the home inspector, have to make sure that you understand that. And I put it clearly in the report, as anybody should, that prior to closing, this should be inspected by a structural engineer and determine how severe it is and which way they're going to remedy it. Another big ticket item used to be very popular here on Long Island is the buried fuel oil storage tanks. You can see right here is the fill, the vent, and underneath all this moist soil is a tank. Many years ago, they were using all steel tanks, anywhere usually between 300 and 1,000 gallons. And if they're in the ground for that long a time, they really want you to abandon them and do an above ground or in a basement tank. Most home heating oil tanks, they're not regulated by New York State petroleum bulk storage regulations because they have a capacity of less than the 1,100 gallons. Like I said, most of them went up to exactly 1,000 conveniently. Even if your heating tank is unregulated, a leak could be very unfortunate, not only for the environment, but for your pocketbook too. When an underground tank or pipe leaks, the cleanup can cost tens of thousands of dollars. And if your homeowner's insurance policy contains a pollution exclusion clause, which many do, you could get stuck with the bill. I didn't even know that was an exclusion clause that was written into many home insurance policies. So I got to dig mine out of the drawer and look and see what else is hidden in there that they have that is going to get you into trouble. And lastly, what are your intentions? And every home has something different about it. And I'll go through the pictures and explain what I'm talking about, or what are your intentions. The picture here on the left, you can see we're standing in a garage. It's a one-car garage, and it's on the other side of this partially drywalled wall is living space. This is the attic. Carries common throughout the two areas. Any home inspection software report, even handwritten ones that old school home inspector is going to do, states this has to be a completely sealed off room. Garage and living space can't share any common voids. So it's got to be type X drywall, taped at all the seams. So you have to do some repair here. I always ask the client, I said, what is your intentions for this space? Are you using it for a garage or not? And if they say, yes, I'm going to use it for a garage, I tell them it's imperative that they obviously repair this, because there's risk of fire and there's risk of carbon monoxide. If they say, nope, I'm using this to store my kids' bicycles, some rakes, some shovels, I tell them this is still a safety concern if anybody were to ever use it as a garage. But if you're using this as a storage area, there's no bicycle that I know of. I'm not talking about e-bikes. That's a whole nother disaster. Regular bicycle, garden equipment is going to off gas or cause a fire. So this you could leave. It's a repair that they don't need to do. That I'm sure there's hundreds of other repairs that they're going to need to set aside funds for. Similarly, on the picture on the right, you can see it's hard to see. The picture isn't the best, but behind these garbage cans, right here is a 275-gallon exterior fuel oil storage tank. It was in acceptable condition, but they extended the driveway, which was once a one-car driveway in front of the garage. They bumped out and they made it a two-car driveway. So in this situation, again, I asked the client, are you going to use this portion of the driveway as a driveway, or are you going to put planters? And if they say, no, it's going to remain a one-car driveway, I tell them, okay, let's just leave it as one car and park in the garage. Or if you're going to use this for parking, if you have your Aunt Gertrude, who's 97 years old, come over for Thanksgiving dinner, and she accidentally puts the car in drive and she drives forward, she could risk actually damaging or knocking over the fuel oil storage tank. So I tell them, if you are going to utilize that for parking, put impact protection, the stanchions that you see in all the shopping centers and whatnot, so you're not driving through the storefront. It's usually yellow, filled with concrete. So I would recommend for them to put in front of the fuel oil storage tank. So these are what it comes down to. What are your intentions? It's up to each situation. If they're going to use to park the car in the picture in the garage on the left, definitely fix it. If you're not, it's something that you don't need to do right away. But in the end, a home inspector should not be considered a potential deal breaker, but rather the one who provides you with many details so you can make an informed decision about your real estate transaction. You always hear, oh no, they have the home inspector coming in, they're going to kill the deal. And I say, that's not really what any home inspector should be doing. It's just making sure that you have all the information needed, that you can make the decision. I've seen people out there that the home inspection report is 56 pages long, and every electrical, everything has a problem. And they're in love with the house, and they don't care how much they're going to have to spend to fix it. And other people, one thing on that checklist might break the deal. So everybody's different. My job is simply to make sure you have all the information, or as much as I can get out there for you. And then you make the final decision of if you want to move forward with the residential transaction. And with that, I want to thank you for the time. And I'll open it up to any questions or comments or.
Yeah, wow, Mike, this is probably one of the best presentations I've seen so far, and I seriously mean that. Honestly, this is wow. This is you really wowed us, and a great presentation, very informative, very knowledge. I was like, wow, this is really good. Wow, I was impressed. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
So I'm gonna open up to the floors, and Robin, you are now the host, I believe. Because
Okay, so Mike, if you want to stop sharing your screen.
Yep.
I would love to.
Go. And thank you again, Mike.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
I have a question. Do you think that a person who is looking to sell their home first should have you come in to help them prepare their home to sell it, or do you do mostly the people who are purchasing it coming in to check it out?
That's a really good question, Robin. And here on the line, I think 95% of the people are the people that are going out to buy the home. The sellers aren't looking to have a home inspection. And in part, I'm not really sure. I know New York State has a disclosure form that if you know something is wrong with the home when you're going to sell it, you have to disclose it. So maybe they're hoping that if the home inspector doesn't see A, B, and C, I don't have to disclose any of them. So it possibly could be a deterrent. I'm not exactly sure why.
Okay. Would you like me to ask question 1?
Sure, that'd be great if you could.
Okay, we got a poll for you. So let's try this first question. What is, let me launch it. What is a home inspection? Everybody answered? We got no, we have. Okay. All right, Mike, what is the answer?
The correct answer is actually the third one, a visual exam of the home's overall condition.
Okay.
And the reason, if I could explain a little bit on that, Robin.
Sure, absolutely.
If the first one is a little tricky, I can see why people chose that, is because every aspect of a home inside and out is virtually impossible, especially when homes are occupied. Because like I said, trying to inspect the garage for termite damage and stuff like that, when there's 600 bicycles in there and lawn fertilizer and you can't get every aspect. And I include that in the report, as you should, that there's some things that we couldn't see. If somebody finished the basement, I can't inspect everything down there because it has drywall and drop ceilings and whatnot. So
yeah. Okay. Sandra, did you have a question? And you're on mute. There you go.
Yes, I have a question. I must say that I'm very impressed by this presentation. As a realtor, I really like the fact that you make it very clear that you're not trying to break or cause our deal to fall apart. I'm very happy about that. And I learned something today, which came up on my last inspection. It said, the home inspector said to us very clearly that those cracks, vertical cracks, were structural damage, and that the house was falling apart and we almost lost that deal. And you're saying that no, this is just a house settling. So I'm really very happy to hear that.
yes. Yep. Thank you, Sandra. Yeah.
It's not so much a question as an endorsement, and I definitely want to work with you. So I'm going to get your information from Robin. I'm outside, so it's a bit noisy, but I listened to everything you said, and I really, really am impressed, and I want to work with you.
Sounds great, Sandra. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, that's the power of wow.
Exactly.
So let's try. Does somebody else have a question before I come up with poll question 2?
Oh.
Shannon, did you, Marlon, you have a question? Shannon has a question. Okay.
Real quickly, mine's right. So exactly what Mike said about while doing the inspection of the bicycles and all this stuff that's mounted. I got caught up with one little small minor thing, and it was a window that was hidden with a curtain, and I couldn't touch it because guys, they said they didn't want you to touch when you did the walkthrough. So we have to respect the people's personal belongings there.
Right.
And I visually saw it, but then the realtor said, don't touch it. And then come to find out when I got the house and I looked at everything, it had cracks.
Yep.
And it had mold. So that was a surprise that obviously, I didn't get to, obviously I couldn't do myself, or even the inspector couldn't see himself, because again, it was off limits. So be careful with those. Mike is right about that.
Shannon, you had a question?
Yes, Mike, that picture with the outlet above the heating element, that was a problem. That was a fire hazard, but wasn't the electric outlet too close to the ground also? Isn't it supposed to be like a certain distance off the ground?
Yeah, that's all electrical code, which home inspectors don't reference. But you can't have any outlet anywhere over electrical heat. Regular baseboard heat is fine, but it can't be over the electric heat.
Right, for sure.
It's usually because of the cords and things dangling, and the electric heat is much warmer than your hot water, your radiant convectors.
Yeah. We live in Rocky Point, and we have some electrical outlets in some really strange places. Like we have one that's like 3 inches off the ceiling, and we have some that are like almost on the ground. They're just we have to fix everything.
I did one inspection. I did the entire house. I thought the electric panel was going to be in the basement. I got to the basement, which was a basement, and a whole bunch of crawl space. I said, I must have missed it completely. There's no electric panel. I said, I'm really terrible at my job. So I asked the homeowner, I said, can you tell me where the electric panel is? He said, oh yeah, it's on the first floor. So I walk up to the first floor. I said, I walk right past this thing. He said, oh, it's over here. Come with me. He opens up his coat closet, pulls out the vacuum, all the kids' winter clothes, suitcases. It was on the floor in the coat closet, which no bueno either.
What about the wiring, all the new home wiring with the for the TV and all the new panels that have the alarm systems in them and everything else? Are there codes for where that needs to be as well?
All that's like the Cat 5 for the computers and fiber optics and stuff like that. Out of the scope of a home inspector. It's in the New York State. We don't even deal with that stuff. Any ancillary system, like you were talking about the burglar alarms and stuff like that, isn't full under the home inspection. So there's not even, and if you see something where they decided to drill through a floor joist and it compromised the structure, obviously we're going to call it out. But how they run it and stuff, no, there's nothing that would trigger a home inspector to write anything like that up.
Right, cool.
And you brought up code, which is good, Robin, because we don't reference code. We're not code enforcement or anything like that. So you can kind of, without saying the word code, you can use what your knowledge of certain codes are to say, hey, this isn't up to par. Or...
All right, cool. Let's try question number 2. Can a home inspection fail?
What do you mean by that? Fail how? The home inspection, the inspector says it fails? Or is there something in there that fails? What do you mean by that?
Mostly like, can the home inspector fail the home? Like, is it a pass or a fail for the home, for criteria?
Okay.
Like a do not buy. Okay, so we have half and half.
We got a split. It would be funny if I said the correct answer was in some states, but it's not. So the answer is actually no, a home inspection can't fail. In its entirety, the home inspection is really just a recommendation. Like I said, we find certain things in a home and we tell you the corrective action or to hire a professional in that area to take corrective action. And it's really up to, like I said, the client, whether or not they want to move forward with that real estate transaction. So it's just the information providing.
Okay. All right. And the last question, number 3. Let's stop sharing that one. And let's go to number 3. What will a home inspector do for you? A lot of percolating going on here. I think this one was a really easy one.
I think we already let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, kind of. And so it was.
It was to just provide with information, correct?
Shannon must be in that other back bedroom tonight, Paul. Is she in the little bedroom?
Yeah,
My computer died.
I think she had
forgot to
technical
plug it up.
difficulties, right?
So, Mike, there's so much incredible information here. And I think that both people who are selling and buying, I almost feel like if I was selling my house, I would want to have you come in before I start putting it out there to kind of maybe fix the problems and make it smoother. So I'm surprised, and if anybody else who's in that, in the industry, that I would rather know what the problem is. What a surprise. Like, I like to fix things. So, is that a service that you provide as well?
Yep, it is. It is a service I provide, Robin. And I agree with you. If I go to sell my house, obviously I inspect my own house, but I know the things that there's still things on my list that when I had my home inspection done from 2008 that needs to be addressed. Most of them are minor things. But I would recommend anybody, like you said, you want to be, especially in today's crazy markets that we have, if you can get all these things worked out before you list your home for sale, and then when you list it and they hire whatever home inspector they want to come in and they say, wow, there's nothing crazy major that needs to be done with this home, you're moving forward with the transaction rather quickly, I would think.
Great. Dawn, you had a question?
So it's not really a question. So I've been in real estate for quite a while, and I train and I, teach new agents. I've done that for a while. And it's funny because this question comes up consistently. And I tell them, it's up to you and the seller what you're going to decide. And then I'll tell my opinion on it. And I'm the opposite of both of you, because the way I see it is every inspector that comes in is going to see something different. And now you're fixing everything. And then a next inspector comes in and now you're fixing 10 more things. So I don't know if I would have it pre-inspected. But I know many agents, they do that and they think it's the best thing for their clients at the time, the sellers. So I'm just, what are your thoughts on that, on the opposite end? Just devil's advocate here.
Yeah, you're asking me, Dawn?
Yeah.
I think that, like I said, I put it at probably around 95% of people here on Long Island or agree with you. They'd rather be reactive to it. And I said, is it sometimes hoping that the home inspector misses something, or it's just, it is what it is, and this is my house, and if you want to buy it, you're going to buy it, and then you can fix it, or that's part of the whole negotiating back and forth on price, although there's not much negotiating lately. It's pretty much just who can outbid who.
Yeah, there's so few houses on the market that
Yeah.
if there's a few little things wrong with the house, I don't think they're not going to move forward with it.
Correct.
That and they're opting out of home inspections, but then the attorney is telling them, no, you need to have this done before you can move forward. So
Shannon, can somebody get a mortgage? Shannon, can somebody get a mortgage through Jovia without a home inspection?
Yes, actually, we don't require it. That's actually all on the member. We recommend it, of course, and in very few instances we do require. Actually, doing a loan for someone upstate, tiny little house, but there's so many things wrong with it. They're escrowing $12,000 for the sewer because the ground was frozen. They couldn't do an inspection on the sewer, and they did not like that. So they were like, "Well, if you're going to escrow, that means something's wrong with the sewer." And but in very few cases, we requested that home inspection, but almost. That's very rare. In fact, that's just a borrower, really, we always recommend get it, because if you're spending $500,000 on a house, $400 is really well spent if you're looking for anything major, so you can rule out the major issues with the home.
Steve, I'm not looking to put you on the spot, but because this is what a lot of what you do, I'm just curious, do you utilize inspections? How does that work in your process?
Well, from the point of when I had to buy a house, like, number one, I don't think inspectors are the bad guys, which I thought was funny. 'Cause you kind of
Comes up to that.
you do things the right way, and you're supposed to do things the right way. That's and when I had to buy a home, I knew what the inspector was going to do, and I understood the report. And like Mike said, and Mike, that was a great presentation. It's it's a visual inspection or visual assessment, and that's what it is. So you can't see what you can't see, and that you'll find that stuff out later on, which I continue to find out. But yeah, I mean, it's you're making they're helping you make an assessment of what you're jumping into without having the knowledge. But one thing that I did find out when I was going through my contract, and just one sentence about a garage and the house that I was moving into, I guess they had built into the garage, it would not fit a whole car. So I asked the question. It turns out they did it without a permit and all this other stuff. They had to fix that. So that became a negotiation. And I don't know. I would just be careful doing things without a permit. I would say don't do things without a permit is the right way.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I chime in? That is a good point, Steve. Circling back to Shannon's thing and Shannon's question and Robin's question regarding will it jeopardize a mortgage? If it does, if you have a deck that doesn't have the proper CO, the proper permit, that might kill the deal. But depending on the lender, I think Jovia allows it depending on the situation, case by case. For Dawn, it sounds funny, but a few years ago we bought our house and we had to do a home inspection, and apparently the electric meter wasn't up to code and that slipped by. But we fell in love with the house. It's one of those houses, one of those situations we fell in love with the house. But if it didn't, if the inspector would have caught it, we would have never bought the house. So again, you're right. It's a case by case depending on the inspector, but really now with the experience and buying a home and sometimes it's good to have somebody like Mike to kind of scan through the house, explore the house, and find like little issues that could actually kill a deal. Because let's say, yeah, this is a hot market, but if it's something that could jeopardize, like let's say getting the mortgage or jeopardize a deal, is it really worth it? You should just at least spend a little bit of money to prevent any issue. It's like insurance, you prevent a problem, catching a problem. So those are my 2 cents. But Mike, this presentation was on point and very informative, and thank you.
Great, appreciate it. Thank you.
No, great job. Anybody else have any questions for our home inspector? No, as usual, Shannon, Paul, and Mike, thank you guys so much. There's so much information here that now I'm going to start walking around my house and looking for little things. And this is one of the reasons that I was so excited about your presentation today, because when is it you get an opportunity to kind of like ask the home inspector, what's going on. A lot of people go to YouTube and they put in an air conditioner now, or they put in the new heating system, and now all of a sudden they have to sell their house, and there's wires being hidden in the walls and things behind the walls. And when I bought my house, there was a deck off of my second floor, looking at virtually nothing, but it was a deck up off the master bedroom. And I'm like, well, I'm moving in with an 18-month-old. I'm not really sure I want a flight of wooden stairs that are all open and everything else going up to the deck. So the inspector went to go up the stairs, and on the third step, his foot fell right through the step. And that answered the question. So, like, there you go. And that it wasn't going to kill the negotiation. It was either they were going to give me money or they were going to get rid of the stairs. So, that was, if I could have planned that, not for them, but that, thank God nobody got hurt. So you guys are the good guys, and we hope to keep you around a lot. And I'm hoping that people on YouTube and that our members get a chance to see this, and that, they'll be able to ask you questions as the time goes on. So if there are no more questions, I thank you again. Mike, if you want to just put up your last slide, just so that everybody can get your information.
Okay, you're making me work for it, Robin.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Actually, if you have Q, you can just put it into your information. So the benefit of Q.
That's the last one.
Okay, let's get the one with your phone number on it. Maybe that was number 1.
Yeah, that's all the way to the other side.
Yep. And those deck rails are all over the place.
Yeah, everybody's using the cable ones now. They look fantastic. Like I said, until your kid starts climbing up them.
Which is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. So there's Mike's number. You can usually find him at WOW during the week. I thank the real estate group for yet another wonderful presentation. I thank all of the people. I thank all of you out there watching and members of WOW, and have a great night. And we'll see you winning on next Wednesday. Have a great night.
Night, guys.
Good night.